Welcome to Vin and Mike, episode 44.
Hey, hello.
Jackson in the house, number 44.
Number 44, Henry, Hank, Aaron.
That's right. What a good 44s. Baseball,
That's a good
44s everywhere.
This is a good episode to come. Hello there.
That's good. How you doing?
Doing great on this dreary Monday, but podcast will bring some happiness, man.
Miserable out there today and cold. I think we didn't even reach 55 today up here in the mountains of New York.
The weather changed that quick.
I know.
It really did.
But it's supposed to get a little warmer later. But let's start out. Vin and Mike is always brought to you by Viggy Betts.
Viggy.
Yeah, my man Viggy. Go to Twitter, Instagram at Viggy Betts. Check him out. Send them a DM. Tell them you're a fan of Vin and Mike, and they'll take care of you. $9.99 a month for some really good handicapping, which I think we did pretty good yesterday. A couple of bumps in the road, but overall,
pretty good.
We did a pretty good Sunday and Monday night. We'll get into that a little later, but. As always, Vin and Mike is brought to you by the Pigskin Podcast Network, and you can go to vinandmikepodcast.com to get everything. But let's start off with baseball, and let's start off with the Mets. It was not exactly what we were planning for in the little piece, whatever you want to call it. It was terrible. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a sweep by the Braves. They beat DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett. Absolutely was not any ace pitching at all. And it was a really, really tough weekend. And now with 3 games to go, Mets are 2 in the hole. Braves have essentially clinched that division. They have the tiebreaker. So all the goodwill and everything that we thought was going to happen into this 3-game series and thought they were lining themselves up perfectly, it just faltered right there. Terrible weekend. Mike, some of your thoughts.
I want to say this. If you're a Met fan right now, I know Matt's listening, Christian, that the Mets are in the playoffs, and they're probably not going to win the division. Since the Mets had a 10.5 game lead on June 1st, they're 63-44, which is pretty damn good. That's a 95 win pace over 162 games. But the Braves were just on a different planet. They went 76-32, which is a 114 game pace. Now, what people are not really talking about right now, if the Mets win 2 of 3 against the Nats, they win 100 games for the season, which is so commendable. First time that's happened, I think, since 1988. And, yeah, was it disappointing? Absolutely, because you had to treat it like a playoff series. You had 3 of your best pitchers on. It was not good to watch. But, Vinny, we've always talked about this. Get it out of your system now, because that was essentially, even though it was like a playoff game, it wasn't the playoff game. And now you just have to get back to the way you've been playing. I think the Mets were missing Marte a lot. He's been such a big factor for them. They've had lineup changes, but when you're DeGrom and Scherzer, man, you're pitching. People are always saying this is why you're paid for perfection, and it was just not happening. They have a chance to redeem themselves, but now they have to go through the wild card route most likely, which is not going to be easy. But like we say in football, any given Sunday, in baseball, it could be any playoff day, that things are possible. They have a chance now. And at least this wasn't a playoff series. They could go back and redeem themselves. So I just want Mets fans to be optimistic. You've had a hell of a season. If you take 2 out of 3, you win 100 games, which is such a plateau. Take that momentum into the playoffs. Look at what you've done. Buck Showalter, I've always said, Vinny, is a great strategic manager. He's going to look at that series against the Braves and really outline what we have to do as a team to really get better and what we have to do to win. The Mets have been a great team all season, and hopefully that continues into the playoffs now with adjustments.
I just think there's a big issue here, and it's DeGrom going 6 innings and giving up 3 runs. It's Scherzer going 5 2/3 and giving up 4 runs, and then Bassett going only 2 2/3 and giving up 4 earned runs, and that was the issue. You didn't get any quality ace starts. There was nobody that took the game long. There was no one that held the Braves down to 1 or 2 runs. And we know Marte not being there, of course, is a factor when it comes offensively to them, because they're not a great offensive team to begin with, and losing that piece really hurts. But I think Met fans are disappointed. I think they really, really felt going into this 3-game series that they had a real legitimate shot of winning the division, especially with their big 3 on the mound. And I think there is no consolation prize right now for them. They need to go into the playoffs. They need to win that wild card round and then go out to LA most likely and win a series out there, and then come back and most likely play the Braves again. It's not going to be a very easy road at all. It's very difficult when you lay it out in that manner, but they need those 3 pitchers to really turn it around. And I'll be honest, DeGrom has not looked good his last 3 starts at all. He's looked very average, probably his worst 3 starts in his career when you look at it as back-to-back-to-back like that. So you start worrying that, is his arm going to live up to it? Is there other issues going on? You worry about Scherzer and his little injuries and all that. And we know Bassett, this is his first real test, in a big situation. And you take all that into consideration, and that's where you worry. We know Buck knows how to manage a team and get them, ready for this series. But I don't know how much that's going to matter if you don't get your starting pitching to come out there and win. You can't count on Carlos Carrasco and Taijuan Walker. You just can't. You can't. The bullpen has been really good on the back end. Diaz had a fantastic season, still has a fantastic season. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to actually get top 3, maybe top 5 Cy Young consideration. He had that kind of year when I look at it. But I worry what I saw over the weekend, because you didn't get a single good start. I could see you lose 2 out of 3 and Scherzer wins a game, or either one of them, any of them. But you didn't get any of that. You got swept, and you don't have home field. That's the other thing, right? Because you're going to have to, play 4 out of 7 in LA, 4 out of 7 in Atlanta, and if you're going to play the way they played on the road in this Braves weekend series, it's gonna come crashing to a halt, and that'll be it. And 100 games or not, fans are not going to be happy at the end of this, and you're going to see they're going to ask for major changes. And I already hear people, chirping out there. If DeGrom doesn't pitch well in a playoff game, they don't want to pay him. They don't want to. They're afraid that he's at the end of his rope already, and that he's not going to be the DeGrom that they thought he was going to be. And they don't want to pay him $40 million a year. He's making 33, and they're already paying Scherzer 36, 37, whatever they're paying these guys. They don't, you can already see it unwinding, and I don't want them to go down that road. I'm hoping for Met fans that it all bounces back, but it just didn't look good. It just did not look good.
Yeah, I just want to say you're 100% right. You're not going to pay your big time people if they're not producing. But now, again, as much as it hurts, and it was not good, you have to just kind of say, okay, it happened. We got swept. Good teams know how to bounce back, and we have to see if the Mets could do that. That's it. You can't look at the past. And these guys, Scherzer, DeGrom, they know what's at stake. They certainly get paid to do so. Now you have to play like it.
Yep.
So now it's all in their hands. The Mets, they put their own destiny. You put your own destiny in their hands. So yes, now their journey is going to be a lot more difficult. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. But you got it. But this stuff now, this cannot happen with these aces, right? And as we talked about with Matt, the point of that Brave series was so crucial because you wanted to set yourself up to win the division so you could get the right pitching and make sure they have the right rest. You're not going to have that opportunity now.
Nope.
Makes it even harder, the journey. So we shall see. Not impossible, but you put yourself on a different pedestal.
It's kind of interesting that I heard today that the Mets, could start their postseason and their season could be over before the Yankees play their first playoff game, because the Yankees get the bye. They start, like the week later, and the Mets season could be over before the Yankees even start in the playoff.
You have to have your good vibes for your Subway Series, man. Keep it.
I know.
I
can't have this. I need I need DeGrom and Scherzer to pick it up. Bassett is what it is, but I need those other two guys to pick it up, because those are the games they have to win, right? Those are the games that they got to win 2-1, 1-0, 3-2. They can't have these guys go 6 innings and give up 3-4 runs. It just can't happen. They don't have enough big time hitting to score 4 or 5 runs in certain situations. And I think that they need those pitchers to hold to Diaz, right? Lugo Diaz. That's what you want to see. You want to see 7 innings out of those guys, and then Lugo Diaz, right? And that's how you want to run it for the rest of the season. Now, of course, you can't have Diaz pitch that much, but at the same time, there's no other choice but to throw him out there if necessary. But they're, like you said, they are in it. It's going to be tough. I'm not sure who they're going to match in this first round yet. I don't know if that's even settled up yet. It doesn't look like it. But, it could be Philadelphia. It could be Milwaukee.
Yeah, still the two.
It could be San Diego. We'll wait and see how it all plays out. But very interesting series coming up for them. And then we'll see where they go from there. The Dodgers and Braves are just going to be sitting around, relaxing and have everything lined up. It's Houston and the Yankees have the same luxury, as they finish up this season and just line everything up and then get ready. The one thing about baseball, and this is the one thing that just concerns me a little bit with the Yankees, is baseball is a very rhythm game, right? You get, you want to continue to go out there every day and get your at bats and continue to play well. And giving baseball players 6 days off in between might be good for pitching, but I don't know. The hitters could find themselves in a little bit of situation. I know the Yankees are setting up a camp kind of atmosphere in the Somerset location, and they're going to play a lot of baseball there in between the end of the season and the playoff season. And I think Matt Carpenter is already there with Wandy Peralta. They're already getting themselves ready. Carpenter is going to be back for that series. They were just deciding if they were going to play him in Texas or have him stay back, and they decided to have him stay back. But that's my only concern when you look at it, is yes, you get your pitching staff set up, but is your hitting going to be back in rhythm? Maybe certain guys need days off. Like Judge probably can use that entire week off, but some other guys that are starting to get in rhythm, like a Stanton, who has been, he needs a lot of at bats, right? He's been hurt. He's had a terrible second half of the season, and then he starts getting going, and then all of a sudden it's season's over, and now the guy's got a week off. So those are the things that worry when I look at that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vin. I think I was just, when you started talking about that, I said for pitching, it's great to have your arm rested, but when you're hitting, it's all about rhythm and getting up to that plate and having those at bats. So it's true. It's absolutely true. So as long as they're getting their practice in and they're continuing to play, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, maybe we can head down to Somerset and take some participation in their activities.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Well, so here, Aaron Judge, this is how you hit a 60-second home run.
Yeah, we'll teach him. We'll teach him. Sure.
I honestly thought he would go into this weekend, hit the home run, and be over with. But I guess I don't know if he's tired. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know.
Imagine though, like
I don't know if there's still a little bit of pressure and all
so
that.
much pressure because
Yeah,
I agree. When he hit the 61st, I thought it would, you thought you get the jitters out of your system. You're right. I thought it was going to happen pretty simultaneously after. But the thing is that every time he's at bat, it's just a different kind of caliber where everyone's standing and you have every announcer in town looking. The pressure is tremendous. So, listen, what he's done this year is unprecedented. It would be, I really hope he hits that 62nd. Now he's got limited time to do it, but I would just say, you know what, relax, take a deep breath. You guys are in the playoffs and just swing for the fences. It's easier said than done.
Maybe being in Texas to end the year will be better off than being in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. Maybe a little less pressure for sure.
Yeah, I mean that crowd. Every time he came up, it was like Game 7 of the World Series. I mean, it was just insane.
I can't imagine that pressure, right?
Unbelievable. So talking about pressure. Before we go into our commercials in about 10 minutes here, let's talk about pressure. Let's talk about your man Zach Wilson, who I thought was under a lot of pressure there in that last drive, and really put a lot together. I don't even want to dive into it. I want you to dive into it and go ahead.
He was, to me, A+, because the Jets' offensive line was was not existent, and he made those third down plays. He was consistent. He knew when to throw the ball out of bounds. He was able to run out of pressure. He made some real quality throws, and for his first game back, what more can I could have been happier. Now, obviously, there has to be some adjustments. I felt the Jets' first down plays were not good. They forced Zach to be in those third and long situations. We've talked about this time after time where do the play action on first down. It just seemed pretty predictable. They were doing running plays that were really not working in their advantage with Carter and some other players, that it just wasn't going anywhere. You have to change it up a little bit. I love that reverse play where they scored that touchdown, Zach in the end zone. And that was the first time that a Jets quarterback received a touchdown pass in their history. So Zach Wilson made some history, by the way. Now, I mean, listen, the numbers, Matt and I talked about this the other day. His numbers weren't pretty, 18 for 36, 252 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But it was his agility, his motivation, and it just kept him in it. He doesn't quit, like the announcer said. He did not quit. The Jets, I thought they were up 10-0. Then they gave up 20 points. And you really thought, in my mind, I said, you know what? This might be over. And then they had a drive, and then they were right back in it. That's what you call not giving up. That's what happened against Cleveland. That's what happened against Pittsburgh. But get ready, because you're playing a Miami team next week that, your offensive line's got to get together, because Pittsburgh, they weren't too strong. Now you have to really just reset, get it together. But I'm glad the receivers, it was nice seeing Elijah Moore. It was nice seeing, Braxton Berrios. He had one nice reception. Corey Davis played well. Their tight end, Tyler Conklin, had some key receptions. So everyone's mixing into this lineup. Obviously, it takes time. They're a young team. There's a lot to go there. But I was honestly very impressed with the win. I really thought, Vinny, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, that if they would have lost that game and went 1-3, I felt that their season would have been really difficult to regain kind of the momentum that they need to even have a shot. Now they're 2-2, and they go home to play a Miami team that's tough. But listen, they're beatable. I think that the Jets just have to just keep building on what they've done, look at their mistakes, look at how they can improve. But to me, it was a great win. It really was.
Yeah, and they already announced Tua is out, so that's already a step in the positive for the Jets in their matchup this week. And we'll dive a little into Tua after the commercial. Get some of your thoughts on that as well. I thought very impressive being down by 10 in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth. Old Jets team to me would not have won that game. I don't think Joe Flacco would have won that game. I like the way Breece Hall played yesterday. I think he's starting to establish himself as a real number one back with Carter. I think it's a nice mix there.
Right.
But I thought they both played really well. I thought the defense really stepped it up in the fourth quarter. But that was very important also for them.
Yeah.
But he made that big pass in the fourth quarter on that final drive that Zach made and really controlled the game and didn't make the mistakes there and got, Breece Hall got the ball and they moved it down and basically punched it in with about 15 or 16 seconds left in the game. And it was just a very good, strong last drive, and like I said, being on the road and doing all that stuff, down by 10, that to me was the impressive part. It doesn't matter, who you're playing on the other side. It's still the NFL. You can look across the league and how close all these games are and how it comes down to certain plays and everything. So it to me, it was a very impressive win. I think it just a whole. I like the way Corey Davis played.
Yeah.
I still like Garrett Wilson. I think he's got a tremendous amount of upside, and you're going to just see. I think the more Zach gets the feelings for Wilson, and then gets Elijah Moore back in it, and Corey Davis, and like you said, Conklin gets more reps with those guys, and if they can establish that running game like they did on that final drive, which means that offensive line has to play better as a whole, they're going to take a good step. I don't know where they're going to end up in this whole mix, but that's a kind of team, when you put that together, it will be competitive every week. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to be down 29-3 in the fourth quarter, right? You want to be down by 3, 5 minutes to go, up by 3, 5 minutes to go every single game. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and one other thing, I touched upon the offense, obviously, but the defense was tremendous. What I noticed this game, that I was going to make a joke that they got to Trubisky so much they had to take him out of the game. But in all seriousness, they were rushing the quarterback. They were getting to the quarterback, and it was great to see. I mean, Lamarcus Jordan had 2 interceptions. Lamarcus Joyner, had 2 interceptions, key interceptions. They were all over things, and they made it a game. Both lines, defense and offense, did not give up. And Vinny, you said it really well, that it takes time to build chemistry with your receivers. And again, this young Jets team, that Zach is his first game, so he's figuring out who he could connect to. But now, opposed to last year, you actually have people that you could do that with. There's multiple people. They're having fun with it. And, your guess is as good as mine. I just think they're exciting to watch. They're building on things, and anything's possible. So go Jets, and it was a good win. And after the commercial, let's talk about your Raiders, because I'm happy for you on that.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive into that and dive into the Giants also, who I thought was a very interesting game as well, since a lot of our audience is New York based and all that, and really want to give them some time
Absolutely
to talk about all that. But let me grab our little commercial here and we'll take a quick break for this commercial. So NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can just bet $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets. Check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. I had a 50% parlay boost on the college football on my sports book this week, so I used that for the losses that you gave me, Mike, so that was good.
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out.
But I tell you, right now the Jets are +3 at home, right, this week against the Dolphins. I think that's a pretty good matchup that I definitely like this week already, especially with Tua. I might have to get in early before that goes down to like 2.5.
That's right.
To 2. So to make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped up same game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TPPN to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. So, all right. Yeah, Jets +3 right now. Early on, we'll dig into that a little later in the week, like we do.
Yeah.
But anytime I like to talk about our good friends at DraftKings and their sports book, I like to at least throw in a little bit of the betting that we did and everything. I thought we did pretty good on the college front. That was a tough Arkansas game. Very tough. I thought. When you messaged me when they made it 28-23 with the +17, I thought we were in good shape as well. And then they kicked that field goal to make it.
They were running 70-yard plays.
42-26, and I'm like, oh, we could backdoor this. I'm like, we might backdoor this. And then they had 2 70-yard runs.
Insane. It was insane.
Well, typical.
That's a number 1 ranked team now. They are now number 1, and there's a good reason for it.
Yeah, typical Alabama stuff. So I'll tell you, I think I said it on our pick show. I like the Raiders this week. I thought we were in desperation mode more than anything. This is a Denver team to me that's not good right now. They're still trying to figure a lot of things out. They lost Javonte Williams for the season yesterday, which is a shame. But they lost him early in that second half, which, the Raiders then took advantage of their lack of running game because Melvin Gordon was benched for his fumbles. The Raiders had their first defensive touchdown in 3 years in that game, which is insane when you just say it. Just like all the things, Daniel Carlson, who's our best player, like I always say every week, missed an extra point yesterday. I was like, oh, my God, what's going to happen now? But ultimately, Josh Jacobs had a really good game yesterday. He ran, I think, for well over 130, 140 yards.
144.
Yeah, he had a big game. 2 touchdowns, I know. He just had a really big game. Carr got the ball to Adams yesterday in some big spots when we needed it. And the defense played well enough to do things. Max Crosby is amazing. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the game. And I was really happy in the way they played. I think there's still some other little things I'd like to see them continue to get better at. I'd like to see Carr just get a little bit better in certain situations, a little cleaner passes and everything. But I did like that they got Adams the ball a lot. They attempted to get him the ball a lot. They played much better defense than they have in the past few weeks. And they put a little bit together. And like I said, I want to see them do a little bit better on just finishing drives, getting more touchdowns and field goals. I think they got to figure out a way to get the ball to Adams, in the goal line offense, maybe Waller. They got to work on some of that, get Josh Jacobs possibly in some play action and things of that nature. But it was a win. It was a good win at home. And I was really happy, at the end of the day. Still a long way to go. 1-3 is terrible. It's you got to get yourself to 500. So that's the goal right now, is to get to 3-3. And then once we're at 500, then you start taking that step and saying, okay, now, how do we get, to the next level? The Chiefs are going to be very difficult to beat in that division. They looked great last night. I think the Chargers are beatable. I think Herbert, he's not 100% right now. Their team is not – it's not great defensively still. They made a lot of plays, but they're not – we see Denver is not anywhere where people thought they could be. So those are some of the things that you take into consideration, but still a long way to go.
Yeah. I was just going to say to you, 1-3 is not 0-4.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it last week that they had to win. You're home in front of your fans in this fourth game. So sometimes it takes one of these games to get over the hump. And yes, there has to be some improvements, but at least you set yourself up now to be competitive, whereas 0-4 is virtually impossible. I mean,
I tell you, I was very impressed yesterday with the game that Josh Jacobs had, because they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, so he's essentially a free agent after this year. He hasn't really lived up to the hype, when he came in, and really had the game that we needed him to have. Really showed, all those things that he can do, and I hope that really continues. And like I said, I just need Carr to finish drives. We need to just finish drives instead of making those mistakes and settling for field goals and all the stuff that comes along with it. They could have literally scored 50 points yesterday if they could finish some drives. So a lot of optimism to score 32 points and not playing like an A football game. So, real happy with that. But the NFL is just a wild place, Mike. It is a wild place. The parity in the NFL is unbelievable. It's across the league. It's very hard to say, Buffalo is the best team in the AFC. It's hard to say that. Yes, they look it, but it's hard to say, is that true? Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC? You could say yes, but is that 100% true? I mean, there's just so much parity around there and so much insanity. But I was very impressed with the Giants yesterday, because Daniel Jones looked like me out there throwing the ball and moving around. But, he's got some legs. He can run. But Saquon Barkley is definitely back to being the player he was prior to his injuries. I thought that was such a major plus for them yesterday, and a tremendous win for the Giants against a very bad Bears team. But you play who's in front of you. You play who's on your schedule. And they're 3-1. I'd rather be 3-1 than 1-3. I'll tell you that.
I think people had them going in a different direction. They would be 1-3, but they've had some big wins. Barkley is back. I mean, that's their guy. But I love Jones scoring those 2 touchdowns. That was great to see that. And then their defense, take Crowder. I mean, Jalen Smith, Jihad Ward. I mean, the Giants have a pretty good defense. Still needs work, but good win yesterday. These. We've talked about, I said this at the beginning of the season. I looked at this Bears team. I didn't really see anything there. These are the games that you have to win at home. The Giants took care of business, and look at that. They're 3-1. Crazy. Yeah. Who would have thought that the Eagles would be 4-0 and the Giants would be 3-1? Tell me.
No one. But here's, talking about the Eagles, and I heard this on FAN yesterday, driving back from the gym yesterday morning. They had their I'm guessing their betting analyst on, and he does all kinds of projections. And right now, besides the second Dallas game that the Eagles have on their schedule,
right,
they are favorite in every other game right now. So right now, they are on pace to be 16-1 in the betting odds right now, which is kind of insane when you hear that, right?
Kind of insane.
I mean, it's just nuts to think about that as a whole. And they're not even sure about that Dallas game at this point. But we know it's the NFL. We know you have to go on the road. We know how hard it is to win. But they're right now, they're the favorite in the NFC. I would still say Bills and Chiefs are back and forth in the AFC. And we have a potential of a huge collision course of teams as things start moving forward. And I think the Eagles answered some questions yesterday for themselves, being down 14-0 in that pouring rain and tough environment to play in, even though they were home. But they settled in, came back, and won that game. I think the same could be said about the Titans really starting to bounce back now. against the Colts. You start looking. I think Dallas is 3-1 also, right?
Cooper Rush, man.
Cooper Rush still rolling out things there. Washington is the team that's just putrid in that division. They are just honestly, I kid around when I call Carson Wentz a bum, but ultimately they need to make a football quarterback change there as well. There's just some team like Houston. Houston is just awful. I mean, I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know what their thought process is, but they're just a really bad team. And you have that, right? You're going to have some really bad teams out there. I still think Chicago's a really bad team. I think we're both wrong in that I think Houston will probably be the worst team this year. I think Seattle's been a lot better than I thought they would. They had a huge win yesterday in Detroit. They scored 48 points. I think I texted you, right? That's the first game in NFL history that finished 48-45.
Yeah, I think Anthony and I were both way off with this because Seattle came in with one of the worst. Their offense was nothing to brag about, right? Yeah. And I know Detroit's defense struggled a little bit, but I really thought they would win that game. I did.
Yeah, it's a home game, and they've been playing well. So, but one of the things that Anthony said to me after was he forgot that Rashard Penny had a big game against Detroit last year as well. So he didn't take that into consideration, and he was a little mad at himself after that, but it is what it is.
Hey, Anthony, I want to thank Anthony on the air because he helped with the Bengals on Thursday night and the Jets money line. So Anthony gave some good picks. I like the way he does things. Yeah. The game that I was most surprised about was that Patriots game with a third-string quarterback against the Packers, who were 9.5-point favorite. And this just shows you how well these Patriots are coached. And I was just watching in awe because I thought that the Packers would blow them away. And they kept right in that game. As a matter of fact, they were this close to winning it. Hats off to the Patriots. They're 1-3, but I'll tell you something. They're a team that could potentially make a run to the wild card. I was very impressed.
I was shocked that Green Bay did not put more men in the box against New England with a third-string quarterback and try to play a little bit more man on the outside and blitz him more and make him just try to make plays. I mean, it's the guy's first NFL game ever. He went from a third-string quarterback 2 weeks ago to in the game this week, rookie. And I thought the Packers played a little light on defense against them for being a young guy coming into that situation. But he made some good throws. He's the first rookie quarterback this season to throw a passing touchdown. So
it's like you said, it's been a wild NFL first 4 games with things that have never happened before. It's just like uncanny. But you know what I look at? It is a wild race because even you look at the Buffalo game yesterday, right? They made a big comeback. But you look at this team Buffalo in the preseason and you thought of them, they're the juggernauts, right? You thought after that they're going to win these games outright. I really thought so. I thought, based on what I saw, offensively, defensively. But it shows that Miami, they're beatable, right? All these teams. Yes, Kansas City beat Tampa Bay yesterday, but we saw in previous weeks, they're beatable. There's not one standout team. Maybe you could argue the Eagles right now, but I think it's too early to tell, right? With the record, are they really still for real? I think they're ultimately good. Jalen Hurts has been, pretty damn good, but there's so much season left. But what I'm saying to you is that maybe going into this season, everyone was on the Buffalo train, right? I don't really think that anymore. I think
it's like what I always tell you. It's hard to win games on the road in the NFL. And Buffalo is a good example, right? They go down to Miami, they get beat. They have to play the next week in pouring Baltimore. And Baltimore should be ashamed of themselves because they've lost 2 games where they had huge leads against Miami and against Buffalo.
That's right. That's right.
This is not a really good Baltimore defense at all.
No.
And I think the rain helped them in terms of Josh Allen not having a tremendous game as Stephon Diggs because of the wind and the rain and all that stuff. But this Baltimore defense is nothing what it used to be. Lamar's been very good, but that was just a tough environment to play in yesterday, which ultimately, when you look at it, when we make our predictions on this stuff, we don't know this is going to happen on Sunday, right? We don't take into consideration pouring torrential rain and wind and all that stuff. So when you hear our show on a Friday or a Saturday, do take into consideration that, it's Friday or Saturday. Sunday, we could change our minds altogether because of weather and things like that, and that's something to also take into consideration when we do it. But that was a push game. It ended up being a push. It was 3 points, the Bills. It was a push game. And the great thing, and that's the great thing about DraftKings. If you parlay a 5-team,
it just voids. It voids.
It just voids. They don't lose on both ends, In the old
days, the sports site that you do lose? Because I just use DraftKings.
I don't know, but I know in the old days, that was a loss. You might get your VIG back, but that's about it.
It's voided, and your odds just go. Odds go down a little bit.
It automatically just drops your odds.
You know what I freaking think about? Those people who do that job and are on these every second when someone scores, the odds and the point spread. You have people doing that. It is the most intense job because it's got to be
algorithms.
It's crazy though.
But there is people making sure that stuff is working, right? Like
the algorithms.
And think about the millions of people that are on the site as games are changing, and so you have to have the services working. Things have to be continually working, and you got to keep an eye on that stuff, right? Because let's say something doesn't go right, and odds go the wrong way, or a service goes the wrong way, and there you go.
It's so incredible to me, especially in college football, where the point spreads are ludicrous. Like this, Alabama is a 62-point favorite against whatever team. It's amazing that they'll come up with that, and then it will be right there. It's unbelievable.
Well, how about Ohio State and Rutgers? 39
and it hit right
49 there. 49-10 was the game.
I know.
You would have won half a point if you took Rutgers.
Unbelievable.
Lost a half a point.
By the way, Rutgers scored the first touchdown in that game. Fact.
Oh, really?
Another fact. Who has the best road record in the AFC East right now? New York Jets, 2-0.
Jets are 2-0 on the road.
First time since 2015.
Wow. All right.
But you know what? This going back to Tua.
Go ahead. I want to hear some of your.
Yeah. I was really disappointed with the NFL. I think what has to happen is you have to really have a third party make that decision, because what it sounds like to me with the concussion and what they do is that team, the Miami Dolphins, they set the precedent, and it looks like they make a decision. Their team and their doctors make a decision for him. And that's going to be biased because unfortunately their team is looking to win. And he did get hurt, and thank God it wasn't worse that game, Vinny, because it looked like it was going to be much worse. But I think the NFL really has to look at this closely and say, how do we really advise and be fair? You have a third party really look at that person and look at more in depth, because he shouldn't have been playing that game. It sounds like, or it should have been handled differently.
So the neurologist, who I think is an independent neurologist that the NFL and the NFLPA hire, was fired, after that assessment on Sunday. And again, I don't know if they even assessed him for a concussion, because it was sounding like he had a back injury early in the game last Sunday. And they contributed that the back injuries what caused his legs to falter on Sunday. But when you watch it and I watch it this is the Sunday, you can see him bang his head when he goes back, right?
Yeah.
He hits his head and he gets up and he's going towards his eyes, right? Like rubbing the eyes is one of the first signs of head trauma because you get blurry vision, you get blacked out, So I think he had some kind of, head issue at that point. I can't 100% say he was concussed at that point because we don't know, right? We can't say that. But again, we don't know if he was even evaluated for a concussion. So I think that's where there was a huge problem. And then let's just say he did have a concussion or he had some kind of head issue and they didn't pull him out of the game and put him through the concussion protocol leading up to Thursday's game and then suffers the head injury.
Right.
He wouldn't even have passed the concussion protocol leading up to Thursday. You put his life in danger at that point. 2 major head injuries. And again, we don't know if this is even true. There's a whole independent investigation going on and all this stuff that they're looking into. But you then put his life in danger. And we know he definitely suffered a concussion Thursday. His body went into that frozen kind of feel, which is from head trauma again. That's a major sign of severe head trauma. But the good thing, like you said, is he walked out of the hospital that night. He got on the plane with the team to go back to Miami. So it's like all the things that are good happened, and they ruled him out already for Sunday because he probably has some really bad headaches going on.
But here's I just want to. But do you think they would have ruled him out if this wasn't talked about all over the media right now?
Well, if they again, I don't know if they would have ruled him out this early. I think they would have gone through the entire concussion protocol that you have to do. You have to pass like those 5 different things you have to pass along the way, right? You got past stage 1, stage 2. So again, I don't know if they even started any of those stages. I mean, we're it's only Monday and they ruled him out already. So I would think that they're not even going to attempt to have him play, and I think that's why they ruled him out due to everything that happened. I think yes, the attention has made them rule him out very early, but they should have. I mean, how they didn't evaluate him for a concussion last Sunday, if that's true, again, I don't know. They're doing the independent, but it sounds like they didn't, and that's why the neurologist got fired. I don't get it. The NFL is such a stickler for these head traumas and these concussions because they went through lots of lawsuits and a lot of different things, and they really have made a concerted effort to really try to make sure that these are addressed properly and have all this. And now there's more changes they have to do. There's other things they need to do. You might have to, I've seen where they've pulled guys out of games, the NFL themselves, because a guy is stumbling a little bit or he's not looking right, and they've called down to the ref and said, take so-and-so out, to be evaluated. I'm a little shocked that the NFL, let that play out like that as well. But here's the thing, right? He came back. He made that long pass to Waddle. He didn't look on the playing field concussed. So I'm not sure if he actually was. But again, we don't even know.
Bottom line is there has to be stricter mandates, protocols that are in effect with these teams that have to be followed, right? We know damn well that they said already that he's not going to play Sunday. It's because of the media hype. But if that didn't happen, would you put this guy's life in danger to win a game? You ask yourself that question. And that's why we always hear the term second opinion, that I have a feeling that they did it by the book with the questions that you have to ask, so on and so forth. But there has to be like I said, a third party, another opinion to just make sure you're doing right and make sure the NFL is doing right. The other thing I was thinking was that now you have more high-tech equipment, but I think about these guys who played like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s with the helmets that they were wearing and that kind of equipment, which was so light.
Yeah.
Think about what those guys went through.
I remember in the 80s, they would actually talk about it, the analysts, on look how tough this guy is. Look at his helmet. Look at the marks in his helmet. Look at the dents in his helmet. Like they used to actually emphasize that and show it as like, this is a real tough guy, right? Even like John Madden, he had his all Madden teams when he was an analyst. And remember, there were a bunch of tough guys on that team, right? He used to even say it, and you don't realize that there was so much head trauma going on, right? And so much hits to the head and all the stuff that went on consistently. And you could see the toll it's taken on some guys through the years, right? And we know, the Mike Webster case and what came out of that and all that. And if anybody that doesn't know about it, you can read about it in the Will Smith movie that played the doctor that did the whole assessment of it. But definitely, if you don't know about it, read about Mike Webster and that whole thing and how the NFL, that really was the first, thing that started changing everything in the NFL. And that's why, these quarterbacks, there's all these rules in place to hit, for hitting them, and then hits to the head, and then horse collars and all the face masks, like anything above the shoulders, hitting a defenseless receiver, all that stuff is penalties. It's, they take it very, serious. And that's why you see so many penalties and why the game has changed in that manner.
Targeting now, that's a newer thing. You never had that before. All new. Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of stuff, right? But I'm hoping Tua is okay. I'm hoping he gets the right health. I hope he can come back, the following week and everything goes well for him and he continues to move forward. Troy Aikman retired, I know, because of concussions. I think Steve Young did it as well. And these are guys that are, analysts and sports analysts, been doing games for a long time. So, you can take the hits in football and continue to move forward in life and progress because you take control of how you feel. And now with everything that's going on, and like you said, Mike, they need to just, do more on the sidelines, improve more. Like I said, I don't know exactly what happened. Right. I don't want to jump to
can't judge,
but it doesn't look good on my end. I would think that it didn't look good what I saw Sunday, last Sunday when he initially got hit. It definitely looked horrific Thursday, and I hope they didn't correlate together and that one was still going on when the other happened, because to me that is an injustice to a player, especially the way the game is treated now. Now back to the game real quick. And our man down in Carolina there, who's just looking horrific, Baker Mayfield. I don't know if you saw how bad that Carolina offense was yesterday, but I read something that their first 10 drives were like the worst output in like the history of like offenses.
Oh, is that so?
It was just so like bad, and I think they're ranked 30th or 31st in offense. I don't know. I think this guy, we know he's on the last year of a contract, and I know he's in a new offense, and it's only week 4, and you don't want to, but I think it's slowly coming to an end for Baker Mayfield as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And Sam Darnold actually
waiting patiently
is eligible to come off the injury reserve, but they say he is very far away from his high ankle sprain. That it's like Like, it was so severe that he's probably out for like at least another 4 to 6 weeks.
What a wild ride that's been, Vinny. Like,
it's just crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, you look at Baker and Sam, and they were top 5 picks, and now they're on different teams, and just the drama that unfolded in Cleveland, and what he's doing now, and crazy, the whole Deshaun Watson thing. Absolutely insane. I go back to some of our old episodes just to hear what we were talking about, and it's always funny to hear, just talking about this stuff before it happened and our predictions, and it's great. That's why it's great to have all this on YouTube and Spotify. You just could go back hit it and just see what we were talking about. And what was funny recently, the episode, I think I said this to you, was we were talking about baseball and our predictions, and that's when Anthony was on. It was episode 12, I believe, and we were just all about the Dodgers. At the same time, though, I was all about the White Sox, and they've had a very poor season. So it was just funny hearing that and the trajectory of these teams. So
yeah, and Tony La Russa officially stepped down today because of health issues, which we knew he was having a lot of stuff going on and all that. But yeah, that's always funny to listen back on and saying how positive you are about certain things, and then you go back and listen and go, oh, I was a little off there. I was just a little bit off.
Even the best of them gets it, but we've hit on some things. It's been fun to talk about, and just hard to believe this is episode 44 already. Before you turn around, this is going to be the big 5-0 here on Vin and Mike, and it's just been crazy what we've talked about, our guests and everything. It's been awesome.
A lot of good stuff. I'm gonna do a little segment here with you this week.
And here we go.
We'll start this every Monday / Tuesday episode. All right, so week 4 is complete. If you had a bet right now, who is your Super Bowl teams?
So I have to just say, with the NFC being where they are, I would have to go Eagles right now. I would, based on what I'm seeing.
All right.
And you know what? I'm going to say in the NFC, I'm going to go Kansas City.
Eagles, Chiefs, week 4, the NFL. And I am going to agree with you on both.
Wow, look at that.
That's exactly what I was feeling this morning, waking up after watching that Chiefs game last night. The way the Bills are playing right now. Now, I think home field will be a big thing. So I think that's where, week to week will start changing. Once the Eagles lose 4 in a row, we'll change there as well. But right now, you'd have to definitely say, I don't know what other way you would go. It would be interesting to hear some of our audience. So when you guys do listen and see this, do reach out to us like you do on Instagram or Twitter.
Maybe I'll put that as a poll on Instagram when I do that sometime.
Yeah, I know one person will definitely answer the poll.
Thank you. Thanks for being loyal.
I'm the loyal poll answerer. Oh, by the way, we still have, and I meant to tell you this. There was a couple of things.
Go ahead.
We did the Vin and Mike Fantasy League. We had 5 teams play yesterday.
Oh, I didn't even realize this.
Yeah. I forgot to tell you. And I finished second in the league. Let me grab it. But our buddy 19 John 65, who's still alive in our no, it's not Codman.
It's not Codman.
No, this is
one of your buddies.
Yeah, he's still alive in our survivor pool. Yeah. He beat me. Ready for this? 160.66 to 159.62.
Wow.
He beat me by 1.04 points in our but we were both in the money as the other 3 schlubs schlebbed away.
Who else was in that? I'm just curious.
I won't mention any of their names.
Oh, okay.
Gilbert, Chris, and Anthony. I won't mention you, but all 3 of you schlubs out there. You didn't do nothing. And 3 teams are still left in our survivor pool, by the way. 2 of them had Green Bay, and 1 had Minnesota yesterday. So all 3 of them survived to week 5. So our survivor pool actually made it to week 5, and we're starting to pick up on our fantasy football league. So if people want to join our fantasy football, I put links out there all the time. It's on DraftKings. It's Vin and Mike Podcast League. We're trying to build it up. It's only $5 to play a week.
You should put it on Instagram too.
I put it everywhere. No one plays. They don't click. They're all talkers and no clickers. That's how they are.
No clickers.
You know? Am I insulting our audience? Yes, but who cares?
Who cares?
And they know who they are, you clickers and talkers and who you are. The 5 people that played, the 4 people that played are loyal people that listen, loyal people that want to participate, loyal people that say what they're going to tell us and do. And then all the people in our survivor pool, 21 of us, very loyal people. The rest of you are just talkers and no clickers.
Talkers. Yeah. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
that's what I'm going to say about that. Was that too much? Did I insult a lot of people?
No. We got a real loyal audience.
No. Truthful people. That's all I want to know. If you don't want to join, it's fine. You don't have to lie.
That's right.
All right. We're good, I think. I think we made it.
We made another episode.
So next week I will reach out to Mr. Antoine Staley. He'll join us hopefully next week. This week, tomorrow is some holidays and stuff, and a lot of things going on for people, so we couldn't have him on. So, but next week we will try to grab Antoine back on. I know people have asked me if we could have Jeff on as well again for the Giants stuff. They really like his analysis on the Giants, so maybe we can grab him. Maybe we'll grab somebody else with another team. Maybe we'll grab some of those Cowboys fam guys eventually. I don't know. They're 3-1 now. They should be a little excited out there. I don't know. Maybe I insulted them too much on that one episode.
The time zone, I think.
Maybe they don't want to talk to me anymore. I have no idea. But it's all good. All right, Mike.
See you, Vinny. Have a good week, everybody. See you next time.
I'll talk to you during the week.
You got it.
Bye.